Showtime.
Showtime. Showtime.
Showtime. Showtime.
Showtime.
Showtime.
Showtime.
Showtime. Showtime. Showtime.
Showtime.
Showtime.
Showtime. Showtime.
Showtime.
Showtime.
Showtime.
Showtime.
Showtime! Ed Berliner, the fastest show in sports.
Greetings, true believers. Welcome back to the fastest show in sports. I am your host. I am your ringmaster, Ed Berliner. Next to me, it'll be to be on my left, your right. Look, I don't care who it is. If you're listening on the audio podcast, you don't care. If you're watching on the video, you can see it. This week, my buddy Jimmy Murphy, whom I have known for what, 25, 30 years, maybe, at least. Mm-hmm. Jimmy is the best guy when it comes to the National Hockey League. When it comes to everything else, he's just opinionated as hell. So that's why I kind of like having him here. And he's one of the few guys that looks good in a hat. I don't look good in a hat. So that's why we had him on this week.
I got
what now?
I got the memo on the Thomas Magnum shirt too to wear.
Yeah, you did nice. I mean, Jimmy used to be with me on Sports Pulse in Boston back in the early aughts. And he used to cover hockey for us there. That was on a network called CN8. Every Friday we had Hawaiian Shirt Friday. Now, Jimmy was one of the few guys who actually got it and was okay to wear it. Other people, I had to pull their teeth out with pliers to get them to wear a Hawaiian or a tropical shirt of any kind. So, you know, as long as they got it, it's good. But he looks good, and not only that, he's got the sunshine today. So we do get to talk hockey. We do get to talk everything else. By the way, before we do that, I want to point out you also host, and I want you to tell us about it here, the iTest, EYE, iTest podcast. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so it's a podcast that Pierre Maguire, formerly NBC, former NHL executive and head coach. We started it just about 2 years ago, and we're on YouTube 4 to 5 p.m. live, Monday to Friday, and then, you can catch us on all the other podcast platforms. But we just bounce around, all different topics all around the NHL. We usually have about three to four guests a week, and then we do a Q&A with the fans. They seem to love it, so we're having a ball doing that. And then I'm also writing for a company called RG Media. And really enjoying that. I had kind of veered away from the writing a bit and been more podcasting, but now I'm back to doing that as well. So keeping busy, Ed. That's all we can do, right?
See, I told you writing guys, you guys who do the articles, long time ago I said, don't worry, Jimmy, you're going to get more into television, more into radio. And you guys all kind of looked at me and said, I don't know. I want to stick with my writing. Can't do it anymore, man. You have to get on social media.
Yeah. Well, newspapers, man, they're a thing of the past.
What?
I said newspapers, are a thing in the past.
What is this thing you call newspapers? What
I know,
is this? Right? I've never heard this word before. I have, but it's long gone. All right, let's get going here because we got a lot to get to, and I want to go ahead and start it. Of course, we start in the NHL. Now, the simple question between Game 3 and Game 4 of the Stanley Cup Final is, what the hell happened? I mean, you look at Game 3, we even came out on the show and said, if the Panthers play like that again and the Oilers play like that again, series is over. It's toast, it's done, put it in the book, it's done. Out comes Game 4. Panthers play a great first period. They roll off 3 goals, and then they go in the tank, or Edmonton gets better. All right, it's up to you. Me, personally, I think, it's one of those questions I hate, Jimmy. It's like when you give people an option. You go, did the Panthers play worse, or did the Oilers play better? I hate it when people come back and say, well, it's a combination of both, Ed. No. I'm not accepting this. From you, the hockey guy, I want one or the other. Did the Panthers go in the tank, or did the Oilers show what they're made of?
The Oilers showed what they're made of and also showed us not to doubt them anymore. I mean, I don't know how many times they need to remind people not to doubt this team. I know when you look at this team, just because of the superstar talent they have, McDavid and Draisaitl, and then you got Bouchard on defense. When you look at this team, you're thinking offense, you're thinking finesse, you're never thinking grit and resilience. However, if you think about their track record throughout this playoff run, I mean, the first round, they were all but done against the Kings, down 0-2 after the first 2 games of the series. Then they ripped off 4 straight. They've trailed in every series they've been in and still found a way to win. And yet, and I'm not saying by any means was I saying they were going to do what they did in game 4. I still gave them a better chance than I saw most people giving them. But I just found it interesting that so many people wrote them off after game 3. I know it was a stinker. But that's what happens. Sometimes you lay stinkers. I mean, I think back, Ed, to 2019, Stanley Cup Final, Bruins and Blues, right? The Bruins go into, I think it was St. Louis. Yeah, they went into St. Louis in game 6. Yeah, because game 7 was at home. They go into St. Louis. They absolutely destroy the Blues to tie the series after having lost game 5 at home. And then they come back in game 7 and just, they're flat. And St. Louis pounces. And, of course, Jordan Binnington was unreal. But what I'm trying to say is every game is unique in these playoff series, and I think that you can bounce back a lot better maybe than you can in a regular season because you don't have a choice. You have to put it behind you. You have to move forward, and that's what the Oilers did, and I give them a lot of credit for the way they not only bounced back from the previous game, but also, as you said, from that first period.
Well, but you have to admit it, and I'm going to go back to something you said here. You do have to admit that, as I stated in our show earlier this week, if the Panthers played again like they did in game 3, where they had the Oilers on their heels, they made them look like amateurs, they were taking advantage of everything, they were goading them, the Oilers blew off in their emotion. But if the Panthers played like that and the Oilers did not respond, this series was over.
Correct. And I think you're absolutely right, Ed. And I think one thing you have to ask yourself, and while I'm giving the Oilers a lot of credit, I don't know. I mean, I'm not in the dressing room with Florida. You wonder if they go into that dressing room in that first intermission of game 4, combined from game 3. So those 4 periods, right? And they're like, we got this thing in the bag.
Oh, no. Come on.
I mean, that they could have got a little complacent. You never know.
Come on, with those veterans. I mean, come on, the veterans on that roster, and Marchand there as well this year with the extra kick that he's given them late in the season. I can't believe for one second these guys would look each other in the eye and say, "Oh, we got this, man. We're in the boat." I can't.
But I think it's in your subconscious that you look at and you say, I mean, we've got this. Like, and that's what I'm trying to say. You look, that's why I referenced that game 6 for the Blues Bruins, is because I saw it. I was interviewing those guys, and it wasn't like they were cocky by any means, or they were openly saying, this is ours, and we just have to show up and win it. But I think in your subconscious, sometimes you can say, we're doing everything right now. What more can we do? And so I think the Oilers adjusted really well. I give the coaching staff a lot of credit there. They finally figured out a way to counter that forecheck. They were getting the puck out of their zone faster. And I just wonder if there was, I guess complacent is too strong a word, but I wonder if there was a satisfaction, so to speak. I just think that they let the Oilers gain a little hope there, and the Oilers pounced.
With the way they now play in the next, it's now 2 out of 3. So now that we have a best 2 out of 3, I got to tell you, I know that 2 of the games are in Edmonton, and normally that would give you a cause to think, oh, well, the Oilers are going to have the advantage here.
Not in
home
hockey.
ice has not been an advantage at all in this playoffs. No. I haven't seen that anywhere. Not only that, but I'm sorry. Even if I get all this grief from my friends all the time. As a Bruins fan, they go, oh, you can't root for the Panthers. And I've said before, I'm pulling for the Panthers because I want to see Marchand get the Stanley Cup. I want to see him have another ring. I want him to go back to Boston. I want him to go knock on Cam Neely's door and say, hi, how you doing, bud? Hey, you want to look at this? Okay, now I got 2 of them and 1 I got without you. Although I got this because of you, because thank you, you sent me to Florida. But in all this, I can't see the Panthers losing this series. Can't see it. I've come to that point, Murph, where I wouldn't bet against these guys if they were down 3-0. I wouldn't bet against them. They're that good a team.
Well, in the one, I think it was it during? Yeah, it's during Game 3. I said to some of my friends, this Panthers team, and I know it's hard to cross-reference sports and compare and contrast sports, but I'm just thinking in terms, because if they win this cup, we can call them a dynasty. We agree? 3 straight finals. 2 out of 3.
See, I can't. I can call them a mini dynasty, I guess. If you're there 3 times and you win 2, that's kind of like hitting the outside envelope of dynasty. It's just almost there. If they got, let's say, if they got 3 cups in 5 years, or 4 cups in 6 years, we're talking like Islanders and old Oilers sort of things. I think then I go dynasty.
Okay, so then this makes my comparison I'm gonna make even better, because I think
I'm going to catch all kinds of hell from the Panthers fans on that one, man. They're going to be throwing stuff at the screen.
Let's go back, Ed, and I believe you were still in Boston on the aforementioned CN8 and doing Sports Pulse at the time. Let's go back to the 03 and the 04 Patriots and sort of that, or even we just stretch it out, the 02 to 05, let's say, okay?
Okay.
That's who they remind me of right now. Like, they're that good, and they were going into games. They're not fancy. They're not running up the score too much, but they're so balanced. They're so perfect at every little thing that they need to do to win. They've got complete structure. They have a clutch goaltender. Patriots had a clutch quarterback. It just reminds me of this team, like they just, I don't know if like how you could say this, because you would think they wouldn't be so quiet in doing it, but they're like quiet assassins out there. They just go out and they win. And I think if they win this Stanley Cup, I compare them to the sort of, I guess, like you said, a mini dynasty where and again, they're not doing it with a lot of, I know they have stars. I'm not taking anything away from Barkov or Kachuk or Marchand or Seth Jones or Bobrovsky, but it's a team. It's not, like I was saying earlier, you think about Edmonton, you think of 2 guys right away. When you think Florida, you think team. You don't think of 1 guy.
Well, let's be fair.
That's why they're so impressive.
Let's be fair. Every single hockey fan in America, in Canada, wherever it is right now, they are steamingly rooting against the Panthers. They hate the Panthers.
And what they do
this
against
team
the Patriots
is hated. Look, this team is hated more than Tampa Bay, even though Tampa Bay also has that Florida hook to it. And we all know that people who are big hockey fans go, you can't play hockey down in the South, which we've already proven is a fallacy. But I see the Panthers as being that hated franchise. You guys are South Florida. You guys are Miami Beach, Fort Lauderdale Beach. You're just an offshoot here. Bullshit. This is a really good franchise right now. But would you agree that everybody in the National Hockey League would just love to see the Panthers lose and the Oilers win?
Yeah, I definitely think that. And I think, a lot of people would love to see the best player in the game, and Connor McDavid, finally raise a cup, right? There's something about a league having a superstar that hasn't won that championship yet, right? We waited a few years for Jordan. You wait a few years for other players to get it sometimes in different sports. I think the league would like that as well. But at the same time, I think the league really loves the Panthers too. I mean, they have, like you just said, everybody hates them. So they have their villain now. They have their villain. They have their Detroit Pistons of the late 80s, early 90s, right? They've got that team, and
That's an excellent analogy, because the Panthers play a lot like it. And I've said this before. Right? The Panthers are, I'm going to smack you in the mouth. I'm going to knock your teeth out. I'm going to give you a black eye. Now let's see how you come back, big boy. Give me a shot. Let's go. I see that in the Panthers, and some people are going to say, well, they're dirty. I've heard that before. And I've even had a few times where I've gotten into it with some Panthers fans where I've said some of the stuff we've seen during the regular season borders on being a little bit of a dirty player.
Oh, yeah.
But that's what hockey is. You have to step into that role every now and then, or else you don't win big games. Yeah.
And you look at all the teams, Ed. Let's just say, let's stay since we came back from the 04-05 lockout, right? A lot of the teams that win the cup find a way. I think of the Bruins in 11. I think of some of the Blackhawks teams even. I think of the Capitals in 18 when they broke through, and you referenced the Lightning as well. They find a way, and the Blues in 19 were a good example, probably the closest to the Panthers, to walk that line, to really get under the skin of the opponent, play the mental game, agitate, and somehow get out of there before you end up in the sin bin. Before you get that penalty, they find a way to make the ref blow the whistle on the retaliatory as opposed to the guy initiating it. I've never seen in my life covering hockey, and I've been covering almost 25 years, I've never seen a team better than the Panthers at doing that.
then would you also agree, and this is something else I said earlier this week, but seeing as you're the hockey guy, every organization in the National Hockey League right now wants to be the Florida Panthers. They have now set a new blueprint and a new idea of how to put a team together, the kind of players to bring in, the kind of culture to create that the other teams, and I even brought this up with a friend of mine who's another Bruins fan, said, you know what, the Bruins right now want to be the Panthers. No, we don't want to be. Yes, you do. You want to be them right now because they're that good. Everybody wants to be that franchise.
Oh, totally. And you can see, Ed, in the way they're drafting now, in the way they're making free agent signings, in the trade acquisitions, everything's getting bigger again, right? When we came out, I referenced that lockout. When we came out of that lockout, small players were able to get away with being small, right? I mean, you were able to, if you had speed and skill, you could wing it and you could still make an impact in the NHL. Not like, the games I grew up on, you grew up on, was all about big, bad, bruising hockey. Now we're going back to that. And I think another thing that the Florida Panthers have done well is they've dispelled the notion that you have to build through the draft. Look at how many of their key players weren't drafted by them.
True.
Right? Their goalie, Kachuk, Marchand. Yep. Seth Jones now.
I don't think
right?
Barkov. Did Barkov come through the system?
Barkov was drafted by them. He was in 16. Yep. Or 15 maybe. Who else we got? I mean, a lot of them, like all these guys, a lot of their key players have come in. Gus Forsling, who's been huge on the defense, was from the Blackhawks. He was brought in there when Quenneville was the coach because Quenneville knew him from Chicago. So they've had a lot of guys that Bill Zito has been able to go out and fit in perfectly. And that's why I'm with you. I think a lot of teams right now are trying to emulate them because they know how to manage. They know how to put the pieces together and solve the puzzle better than anyone else right now in the NHL, and maybe better than any team in a while in the NHL.
You brought this up before we came on here, and I want to make sure we talk about it here.
Okay.
The Stanley Cup Final this year has been some of the most exciting play, athletic play, that we have ever seen. Maybe one of the best Stanley Cups of all time, but certainly just from a sports aspect, between the hitting, the scoring, the storylines, the drama that has got on here. Yet the National Hockey League is still suffering in the ratings. Now, let me put a caveat in here.
Yep.
A lot of people don't see games on television anymore. They now download them on their phone. They see them on their computers. But a lot of times they're going for clicks more than anything else. So those don't get registered in ratings, as in ratings points. Those come down in click points. How many clicks did you have? How many views did you have? But still, there's still not the kind of ratings that you would want. What does the National Hockey League have to do in order to get people to at least sample the games and see it for the great inherent drama that it is?
Ed, I think in that aforementioned conversation that we had pre-show, I think you nailed it when you said, I don't know if they can do much. And I think they're trying to adjust to it, but you made a great point where you said, it's all about clicks right now. It's all about shorts, right? We were talking about you doing this podcast and you were saying, I'm having a lot of success with shorts as opposed to the long show, right?
On the YouTube Shorts, X, and Instagram and all the rest, yeah.
We were talking about writing before, right? And newspapers and all that. Nobody has patience anymore. Like the general audience, specifically more the younger ones, they don't have a lot of patience. They like everything to be quick hitting. They want to sample. Boom. Oh, that was a great breakaway. And that was a great save. But it seems like they don't have the appetite to see the whole body of work. And it's kind of sad in a way, right? Because as you just said, we're seeing amazing drama in these games. From game to game, there's different storylines that are arising and just comebacks. We look at last night at game 4 and that comeback the Oilers make. But this newer generation is too hooked on the short blurbs. And I think that, I think the NHL can put a focus on social media, can put a focus on YouTube and all that as much as they want. But I don't think they're ever going to get back to the TV ratings they used to have because I just think it's the way the world's gone right now. I don't necessarily think it's their fault or the broadcast fault. I just think it's culture. And
Well, but
we're
then,
seeing
okay.
the NBA right now, too.
Well, wait a minute. You hit on culture, so let's do that because that transcends that's just not hockey, but that's everything.
No, it's everything.
Are we living? Are we right now living in a sports culture where the fans of every sport, the growing fans, and we're talking about the teens, the 20s, the 30s, maybe even the 40-year-olds now, if they don't have the patience to watch the game, how do you succeed? How do you? To me, it just seems like we're working from a dumbing down of the audience here, where if that's all you want is just, I want to see the home runs, I want to see the goals scored, I want to see the fights, I want to see the three-point basket made that wins the game. Where's the fun in that? Where's the drama? Are we really just at the point where we have dumbed an audience down, or the audience has allowed itself to be dumbed down so far that games themselves, unless they're like Super Bowls, because those are kind of like transcend sports and becomes something entirely different. Outside of that, you don't worry about the ratings anymore. You don't even think about them anymore because it's not what people want to watch.
Well, I think you 100% nailed it there, Ed. And I think, too, if we had the answer
Are
to
they
that,
stupid?
we'd be making a lot more money right now if we could figure out the answer to
Wow.
that. So if anyone wants to hire us, we're more than willing to try and figure it out. But I think, I think everything you said there is 100% correct. And I think what we have to go back to, not just plays, I think when we talk about storylines within the game, you just have to encapsulate those and capture them as much as you can and isolate them from the game and maybe focus on that. Because when you write about a moment, it seems, in a game as opposed to the whole game, you're usually getting more clicks when you're writing about that moment, right? Like if I write about, let's think back. We talk about Brad Marchand. He's done so many things within a game, right, that got highlighted. You think back to when he licked, who was the guy in the Lightning? Was it Callahan? I think he licked him. That was the story, right? That's my editor calling me when I was with ESPN then, whoever it was, saying, that's the story. I don't care about the game. Focus on that. Get his take. Get the guy he licked. Get his take, and that's what we want. And that's where it's gone, and where it is right now. So I don't know if we'll ever get back to the long read in terms of actually reading or even visual that we used to be at. But one thing I'll say, Ed, and you bring up a good point, right? So you look at it, right, and you say, okay, we're not going to get the ratings we used to have. So you got to look at other avenues, right? And I looked at the NHL right now is projecting that their cap is going to go up periodically in the next few years. And the first question that came into my mind was, well, how is that so if the TV revenue is not there right now? If advertisers are dropping out, the ratings are down. How's it going to? Because they have mastered every other source of revenue. That's how it is. And that's how you get by. And that's how you succeed when you're in this industry right now, in my opinion.
But the games, I mean, this is an interesting conversation because you still have games that you watch from start to finish, and that's where the drama is. The drama comes into, it's not the second down and short. It's not the being down by 15 points in the second quarter and then coming back and hitting 3 straight threes to bring yourself back in. It's not the fact that a team goes up 3-0
Right.
like the Bruins or like the Panthers did, and then watching the Oilers come back. There is a step-by-step drama in sports that you need to stay with because that creates the moment that you then go, that was amazing. Because all of a sudden, I guess it's like if you watch the overtime game, and we'll go back to that, between the Panthers and the Oilers. If you see the overtime goal that wins the game, great. But
what led to it?
That moment means absolutely nothing unless you go back to the Panthers rolling off a 3-0 lead, and then the roar back from the Oilers to take a 4-3 lead, and then the Panthers scoring with 19.4 seconds left in the game at that last second. It puts everything in context. Don't we still have to... I want to say that we need to go out and still do games and tell stories about games and talk about games and do all this nonsense here just because of context of games. But I'm wondering if we can ever recapture that context, or I'll bring up another one. We're just in an era right now, let it go. You got the people out there who just want to see 30 seconds of highlights, let them go. keep playing the games. People are going to come back eventually.
Everything's cyclical,
Holy
right?
crap, am I off on a Fantasyland ride right now? I mean, I'm riding an e-ticket on Disneyland right now to do the Dumbo ride. Boy, did that show my age. But it just let it go because it'll come back eventually. I don't know if it will.
I know. I'm with you, Ed. And, you know,
I don't know.
when you're going through all the different moments in that game, don't forget the goalie change too, Ed. And this isn't the first time that this has happened with the Oilers, right? Now they got a goalie who's coming in. By the way, their backup, Calvin Pickard, who came in and helped lead them to victory, he's now 9-0. So he hasn't lost in the Stanley Cup playoffs, and he's the backup. So it's just that in itself is an amazing storyline. How many times have we seen this where a backup? I mean, I heard somebody say last night, I forget who it was on the broadcast on TNT, he's not going to get it. But does he finish top 5 for MVP of the playoffs in the Conn Smythe as a backup goalie? I mean, you got to give him a little recognition there. That to me is an amazing storyline right there, right?
Well, I'll say this much. Unfortunately, Skinner's not going to play another. Unless there's an injury, Skinner's not playing another second. And I feel sorry for the guy and all that, but I mean, I said to Lady Shannon, we're watching the first period. I said, and it was 2-0. I said, this goes 3-0. He's gone. Intermission, you'll see a change, and Pickard comes in. She goes, well, they might. No, trust me. Stanley Cup, he's out. I feel sorry for the guy, but in the same breath, he's not playing another minute, period.
Unless Pickard gets hurt.
Unless Pickard gets hurt. Then they got to bring somebody in.
Yeah. No, you have to keep him in there. But I think, you know, that in itself is an amazing story. Right? Here's another storyline that could derive from that. We're talking about free agency and trades and building teams, right? Are teams going to look at what Edmonton's been able to do? Let's say Edmonton wins the Cup. Let's say they go on and they win this series. Are teams going to look and say, wait a minute, these guys basically went back and forth between two goalies and still won the Cup. How is that? Like, that's unheard of. Usually you just ride one guy.
Possible, yeah.
Right? So now, when you're building a team, do you really just say, forget it, I'm not going to get this one guy? Like, okay, if you're the Bruins, are you regretting now that you just gave Jeremy Swayman $8 million a year when you could probably just go with a 1A and 1B, give them $4 million each for the same amount of money, and then spread that money out elsewhere in your lineup?
I hope his money's guaranteed.
Oh, it's guaranteed.
It's the smartest thing that kid ever did, because after the season he had last year, if he doesn't have a good year this year, he's going to be a multimillionaire riding the pines somewhere.
Exactly. It's guaranteed regardless of that. But yeah, that was not a good situation. But
so
we don't need to get.
Okay, so last one on hockey then. Best 2 out of 3. Who wins?
I think it's honestly a coin flip. I'm telling you one thing. I'm glad I'm not betting anymore.
No coin flips. No more consigliere. You can't give me this, so I'm going to go, it could be one or the other, Ed. No, you're the hockey expert. I'm going to make a pick. You make one. Best 2 out of 3.
All right, I'm making a pick. And this is the pick I made in the beginning of the series, so I'm going to stick with it because it's still alive. Oilers in 7.
Okay. Panthers in 7.
Connor McDavid. There you go. I think
Panthers
we agree.
In 7. I said this earlier. I can't, until this team goes in the tank, I can't pick against them, because every time I do, and by the way, I suck at picking games. I am the worst in the world. I admit it. I have told people many times, if I make a pick, run the other way. Go as quickly as you can to the betting window.
I'm totally with you. So I have to make picks at the end of my podcast on game nights. So pretty much every night when it's a regular season or early in the playoffs. And I've been brutal on the games. But you know what? For some reason, I'm really getting hot on the player picks. You know, you have to, because they do all these props. So everybody wants to know, okay, who's going to score a goal? Who's a good long shot? Who might get the most block shots and all this? And I'm nailing that. And I don't know what the explanation is. It's just luck. But I'm with you. I've had such a hard time figuring out these games in the playoffs. But it just shows you the parity, which is great. It's good for the sport.
I got a friend of mine who every single time I make a pick on this show or any other show, she doesn't write on social media. She calls me and says, what the F are you doing? You just ruined everything. You just made sure that it's every time. And you just made sure I'm not going to win my bet. How you picked this team? I can't bet them now, because now I got to go the other way because you suck at picking games.
Head the mush.
You're always wrong, and she's right. I mean, that's why. But I like I said, I can't pick against the Panthers because they haven't shown me yet that in a tough situation they're going to cough up a game. Yeah, I mean, okay, one game, but a series, I just don't see it.
I don't
Now,
blame me.
This brings up a great idea here, where it comes down to taking in games and how we look at games, because people only want to see the winning score in the NHL. They want to see that last second bucket that somebody hits in the NBA. They want to see that game-winning walk-off. And by the way, I hate the phrase walk-off. I've never liked that phrase. They want to see the game-winning walk-off home run in Major League Baseball. They want to see that last goal in soccer. They want to see that winning touchdown in the NFL. Murph, how do we get people to watch games anymore? I mean, taking out of it, as I mentioned, Super Bowl you're always going to watch. I mean, the NFL is bred into our culture. But outside of that, there's not a lot of people anymore coming up, and again in those teens, 20s, and 30s, who want to dedicate sitting there watching a game. So in any sport, how do we pull them in and get them to watch and stay for a game?
Like I said, if I had that answer, I'd be making a lot more money. But I'll tell you one thing I think is a factor, Ed, and I've had my soon-to-be 14-year-old daughter say this. I've heard from other parents.
Play more Taylor Swift. I know, I get it. All right.
No. She likes Taylor Swift, but I've trained her well. Don't worry.
Of course she does.
Oh yeah, she's into some good music thanks to her dad. But what I think is a common thread I've heard is that the younger generation now likes individuals more than teams. And I wonder how much that plays a role in this right now. So that, let's just say Brad Marchand, for example, she's always asking me, how's Marchand doing? Not how the Panthers are doing. How's Marchand doing? Or how's this player doing? I'm dating this guy and he likes this player. Tell me about him. They're not asking me about teams anymore. They're always asking about individuals. And I wonder if that has something to do with the lack of, wanting to watch a whole game as opposed to highlights.
Well, but think about this too. In the WNBA, there's a tremendous back and forth. And Caitlin Clark comes into the WNBA and she runs the marketing roost. I mean, certainly she disappears for a few games and the team's ratings go down, the league's ratings go down because she's not there. Angel Reese is another one of those players. She gets a tremendous amount of attention for the outfits she wears coming into the game, for the statements she makes during the game, for the things she's done on social media. Yet, she's an average player. But you can't go anywhere in the WNBA without somebody saying, well, I saw what Angel Reese did. A lot of times she doesn't do much. They talk about the fact that she gets a lot of rebounds in a game. Most of the rebounds are her own that she gets. And she's not a scoring machine, so she is not one of those players that you're going to say, I got to follow every single second and I got to watch the game. But because she's big on social media and she's got all those hits and all those followers, people will go.
Yeah.
What's Angel Reese doing? What's Caitlin Clark doing before they ask how the team is doing? And that to me still seems to be the speaking point. The players are out there plowing for social media, and they're getting all the hits, and they're getting a lot of notice for it. But the teams haven't quite figured out how to do that yet with the games themselves. So in every sport, you got to make the team more attractive. And again, we're kind of throwing these out, and I'd love people listening to the show to send us a couple of ideas and let us know. You can catch us on the email at fastestshowinsports@gmail.com and come up with this. I don't know what that answer is, but if you're going to pay attention to the individual, you got to pay attention to the team because the individual makes the team.
Yes. And we were talking about the Panthers and we're putting them in the category of those 03, 04 Patriots or whatever. People are missing out. Like they are the definition, as I said earlier, of a team. You're missing out on that. And hey, if I've got kids that are playing sports, I want them focused on the team, the Panthers, not Sasha Barkov or not Brad Marchand, not Matthew Tkachuk. I want them focused on the team because that's how I want to raise them as an individual and as an athlete, is to think team first and not individual.
Yeah, but we like to say that a lot because I think that's almost like generational. I want
Right.
you to like the team. Make sure
Well, what
we're all
is that?
team. We're all team players. If you're talking to the teens and the 20-somethings right now, they don't care about the team. It's about the individual. Look, I want to see what Angel Reese is wearing. I want to see what Brad Marchand does. I want to see what Tyrese Halliburton does in the game. I want to see what any other player does in the NFL right now, what they're doing. They don't give a damn about the team. And I'm going to drop you another one here.
Okay.
More people care about the gambling aspect of the game than anything else. That's why people pay a tremendous amount of attention to the individual efforts of players. There was a recent survey, I think it was The Athletic who did it, where they talked to Major League Baseball players, all anonymous, and they were asking them questions about what's happening right now in the game today. I think it was almost 80% of the respondent players said that they're now getting beat up verbally, and they're afraid for their own safety, the way people are going after them when they don't hit a certain mark and don't help somebody in gambling, when they miss a certain over-under, when they miss a certain game. These players are scared spitless right now because a lot of it comes down to what they see as a verbal attack, a textual attack that can become something they got to worry about if somebody catches them coming out of the ballpark one night, and they're worried that it's going to start to turn physical. So you've got a generation right now that is raised on worrying more about, and I'll pick football out of the firmament right here right now. They're worried about if their player hits the yardage marks or hits the over/under on touchdowns. In hockey, did you get the assist and the goal score? Did you hit that? They're worried about that. If the leagues don't focus more on the gambling aspect, they lose, because that's what people want to see. Don't tell me how the team did. Well, tell me what the team did only if it's an over/under. Did the team win? Did the team lose? How did my parlay turn out? How did my trifecta turn out? How did that do? If they don't start worrying about that, Murph, then they lose them. But that, again, is being partly taken care of right now because every league is in bed with a gambling house right now. So that's where they're making a lot of their money from. It's a vicious circle.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I mean, like, you're damn right. That's where they're making the money from. I mean, we were talking before the show, right, about Paul Bissonnette, and he's got all his parlays he's doing and having fun with Gretzky on them and all that, and Gretzky's ribbing them. We didn't see that when you and I were growing up. We didn't even see that when I was working with you at CN8 20 years ago.
I think we got to stop that. I think we have to stop saying when we were growing up. Because, first of all, we're both ancient. We're both going to die very soon. So, we got to make sure, let's just get that. At least I probably will any day now. But I think we have to stop that because those old days are never coming back.
I'm not saying they should come.
They're long gone. It is now a gambling society.
Right.
And if you don't mix gambling and sports successfully, you're out of business.
I'm with you on that, but how do you find that balance, as you were saying? That's the big question right there. Because I'm with you. I mean, I read stories out of Edmonton the other day that, and I can't even imagine what it's like now after his performance in Game 4, but apparently Stuart Skinner was getting death threats.
Sure.
And his family was getting death threats. Like, this is common now. That's a common thing. And again, not to sound like the old fart and say, well, it wasn't that way in my day, but it wasn't.
No, it wasn't. But it's a reality of what it is today, because you're right. Players are scared spitless these days that if they don't perform, that because they didn't mark up to the over/under on DraftKings and somebody put their mortgage on it, they're worried about whether or not they're going to get shot. And I think it's a fair cop. I do believe that they need to be concerned because we live in a society where we have a lot of stupid people walking around. I mean, there's not a lot of oxygen to the brain with a lot of these folks that are hitting the streets these days. So you got to worry about the clowners out there who lost that big bet, who's going to go out and take a shot at somebody. It's not impossible.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know what the answer is. All I would say is if there's a way you can start to promote team again. I don't know if you can and make money that way. I don't know if, companies, teams, leagues are going to take the time to do that because, well, they're making their money. So why are they going to change?
But see, that's just it. And I don't think the teams are going to do it either, because every single sport you watch if you watch the local broadcast or the network broadcast of any one of the major sports. Well,
The gambling.
I mean, any of them. And let's throw golf in there. Let's throw tennis in there. Let's throw motorsports in there. It's always going to come up to, let's check the board and see what the over-under is right now. Let's see how the odds have changed here on ESPN Bet. Let's see what the Hard Rock bet is going to be right now. Everything focuses on that. So the teams, I don't think the teams give a shit anymore about promoting a team. As far as they're concerned, if we keep promoting the player and we keep giving you the reason why to bet, you're going to spend money. We're going to make a buck because we always make a buck because we're in bed with the gamblers right now. Mm-hmm. So as long as that money comes in, if you're not that concerned about how the team wins, we don't care.
Yeah.
Not that big a deal to us anymore. It's the whole marketing scheme has changed to this point, Murph, where it's let's worry more about how much money we can make from the gamblers than we can make from the games because that money's going to walk in. Look, college football, for crying out loud. Used to be amateur football. It's not amateur football anymore. It's pro football junior.
I'm glad you went there, Ed. Yeah. I'm glad you went there. Like, you know, when you sent an email to come on the show and you were talking about, you know, what's going to happen to small schools, they're done. Like, if you're a university right now that is just focused on one sport and not multiple, or one that doesn't have college football or doesn't have or college basketball, you are going to fall way behind. It's the reality of it right now. And it's tough. Like I focus obviously on hockey and I do a lot of college hockey stuff. And over the last 10 years, for people that don't really focus on it, I don't know much about it, we've seen a lot of small schools, like no-name schools, start to build up programs, right? Like who knew about Quinnipiac? And then out of blue, they win a national championship a few years back, right? Or, you know, you got other schools like Mercyhurst. It's just small schools like that are really building great hockey programs. And now all of a sudden, that's gone because of NIL. And then on top of that, you throw in, and this is specific to hockey, the fact now that junior players from Canada, before, if you played one game of junior hockey, you were never allowed to play college hockey. It didn't matter.
Right.
Because once you go up there, you take any form of a paycheck, you could not come down and play college hockey. Now those junior players are welcome. And a lot of them are transferring down.
Well, they have to be because everybody's making money. Everybody's getting paid now.
So now all those junior teams are going to suffer too. And I know that's not happening in other sports. But what I'm saying is the money is, it's building the rich and the poor. There's no middle ground anymore in sports. And we're going to see that throughout in college right now. And I think a lot of schools, like I went to UMass, right? And UMass won a national title in hockey. Was it 2021? So it's only like 4 years ago. And they've been competitive every year. They've made the tournament every year. And I asked their coach, we had him on the eye test the other day, Greg Carville. I said, so are you guys recruiting heavy up on the juniors there and bring them down? And he goes, no. And he said, you know, that they're happy with the European transfers they get and they have a good pipeline in USHL. But I also look at it, and I did some Googling. They're also not making a lot of money as a whole, the whole school, athletic-wise, because their college basketball team stinks. They haven't been good since the mid-'90s. They probably arguably have the worst D1 football team in the history of college football. I mean, it's really, they've only won like 5 games in 5 years. So there's no money there, right? And so they're falling more into that category of a Mercyhurst or a Quinnipiac, even though they've got 30,000 kids at the school and they're a big state university, because they don't have that extra source of income to then shed off to the hockey. So you're going to see a lot of schools like that, I think, Ed. Even if they don't have the combo of football and basketball, they're not going to be able to compete when all's said and done.
Well, not only that, but now you have a salary cap. Now that the lawsuits have all been settled, well, not all settled because there's going to be more lawsuits that are going to pop out. You've got salary caps now. You've also got schools that say, we're going to take care of the NIL. We're going to make sure that everybody gets a fair nut. Are you kidding? Stop snow jobbing me, please.
Yeah,
because we're going to go right back to the old days where there's a lot of money under the table. The boosters are all going to be there. There's going to be spitloads of money that at the big programs are still going to show up, because you're not going to stop the guy who owns the car dealership over here, who has always given $2 million to the local college because he loves the football and basketball. What do you think? He's going to stop? No,
Exactly.
he can just go ahead and make it a sponsorship deal then. He can start sponsoring if he's not doing it already. And then not only that, you get some more money under the table. I want to give him another $500,000. Well, we got to watch the cap. Well, wait a minute. Here's another $1 million. We'll slide it in under the surface here. That's what it's all going to be. We are right back to what was, it's the old saying, everything old is new again. College athletics is now once again the home of the haves and the have-nots. You've got schools like Ohio State that I believe has more varsity sports than any other school in America today. You've got other major schools like Miami, Texas,
Michigan,
Alabama, Michigan, even Boston College. Up where you are right now, Boston College is still one of those that hangs on what they have with their programs as well. UCLA's, Oregon, Washington, they're going to make the money. That's where the money's going to go. That's where the players are going to want to go. Look, if you go to a college football player, basketball, hockey, baseball, whatever, and say, okay, I'm going to go to school A. I'm going to get a contract there for $10,000 to play. Hey, that's not bad. $10,000 and I get an education. Sure, right. Okay, you get the education. Sorry, stop me if I start laughing uncontrollably here for a second. But you're going to get the education as well, but you're going to get $10,000. Wait a minute. The other school over here is offering me $80,000 to come play. I'm out. Wait a minute. That's your dad's alma mater. Don't you want to go right near home? No, I want to go where they're paying me the most money.
Yep.
And it's a pro league. And that's why you're also going to get down to this too, Murph, is where colleges are going to have a salary cap now, plus all their NIL money, and they're going to have to dole out the money to the teams that make the money for them. That means 90% of the time, most of that money is going to go to the football players. Second, it's going to go to the basketball players. You've got men's football, men's basketball, women's basketball. Hockey and baseball are going to finish way down the list. I mean, you've got some schools like, and I mentioned Ohio State, they're big on volleyball because volleyball's big in their area. So they have to do all that and they have to make sure that that is also being fed. College is just pros junior now more than anything else. And I think in sports such as hockey, you're going to see that those haves and the have-nots are really going to shrink. You're going to have the haves be in those major hockey schools. And what are there? Maybe in the country, maybe what? 30? I'm guessing. I don't know.
Less. Yeah.
Is there more or less?
No, I'd say maybe 25 to 30.
Okay.
It's in that ballpark.
So there's 25 to 30 big hockey programs in America right now in college. That's where everybody's going to want to go play. Even the scrub players are going to want to go there. So you've got, here are the big teams, and I could say this for all of them. And for those of you on the audio side of things, don't worry about it. Just catch on the video. Where you've got football up here, and you've got basketball up here, and you've got volleyball up here in a lot of different areas. And you got hockey and baseball and some of the others. Soccer is also going to be up here because soccer makes money at the college level. And all of them down here, haves and have-nots. It's a club program now.
Yeah. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens. Like I said, a lot of these programs who have built, and credit to them, they did a great job doing it. But a lot of those programs that have built up a great hockey program in the last 10 years, they're going to disappear because they're not going to be able to hang with the other.
Well, they have to. They won't disappear. They're not going to disappear. They're just going to. It used to be in college athletics, you had Division I, Division II, and Division III.
Yeah.
And there was always a dollar amount on it because the big schools made all the money at Division I, and they got the best players.
I think they're going to disappear. One, I think some of these schools will fall to a different division. I really do.
Well, no, they have to. It's almost like a relegation status in soccer at this point, where you've got Division I that's going to be up here. A lot of these schools that have just gone ahead and added varsity sports over the years to basically make the money, they're going to have to drop because they can't afford it anymore. They're not the major sponsors, which is where the money is now through NIL and through the salary cap that's been decided. That money's going to go to the big schools. The schools are going to have to drop down to a Division II, and you're going to have maybe even like the Quinnipiacs and some of the others are going to drop to a Division III. Because how do you afford it? You still got to pay the coaches, and you got to pay the facilities, and you got to put money in the kitty. But if you don't have guys making that much money, your team's making that much money, you got to surrender.
Yeah.
Not only that, but you might have to get rid of some of the college baseball programs and the college hockey programs and the swimming programs and even the tennis programs because it doesn't make money. You got to make money.
100%. I'm with you on that 100%. I had a question, sidebar here, Ed, on this topic. What's happening to some of the schools and players, individuals that maybe took some money and got caught in the past? Are they getting, because I saw something, will they be, compensated now? And or like the penalty or the...
No, you can't.
But
you can't.
So for a school, like let's use UMass as an example, right? UMass made the Final Four in '96 because of the investigation into Marcus Camby, where he was taking gifts and cars, what have you, and all sorts of things from his agent, they lost their banner. They can't hang that Final Four banner.
Right.
Can schools go back and be rewarded those banners or recognition?
You can't go back because those were the rules at that time. It's like every other sport. If you have, for instance, a certain rule in a sport and then it changes, then you don't go back and you say that, well, these guys weren't involved in that rule, so we have to go back and we have to let their numbers in and their stats in. No, you don't do that. It's the same thing. Look, God, I can't believe I'm actually this name is going to cross my lips. I'm going to have to wash my mouth out with gasoline. It's the same thing as Pete Rose. Okay?
Oh, yeah.
Pete broke the rules of the game, bet on baseball, and he was busted out of the game. Those were the rules at the time. Rules at the time now are players with gambling is legal, where the teams have gambling, where the players are now the subject of gambling, but they still can't bet. No, it's the same thing. You can't go back and all of a sudden say, I give you special dispensation.
Okay.
But now, what you do have is an argument where players are going to be saying, okay, look, this player over here wagered on sports. He's a basketball player. He wagered on baseball games.
Mm-hmm.
He wagered legally on those baseball games. He did it through an app. It's allowed. In his state, it's allowed. And he's a private citizen in that sense. How can you then hold him up and say, well, you gambled, so we're going to kick you off the team right now? But I gambled legally.
Yeah.
I mean, they haven't figured this out yet.
And I didn't bet on my own team. I didn't bet against my own team.
I didn't bet on my own team. I didn't bet on any player here. And not only that, I didn't even bet on my sport. Now, if a guy or a gal comes in and they bet on their team and their sport, gone. You're out immediately because then you get into game fixing.
Yep.
And that becomes an even bigger problem. And then you're going to have the gamblers are going to be on you at that point, and you'll have a gambler go out and find a guy who's got a crooked nose, and they'll come in and they'll visit you one day after practice and say, "You cost my guy $100. We have to talk."
Yep. I hear you.
Okay, before we get out of here, completely and totally off the vein, because I have to go here because I'm a geek. I'm a nerd.
I do too. No worries.
Okay, I have to go here. It is the summer of Superman and the summer of the Fantastic Four.
Uh-huh.
It is unlike any summer that we comic book nerds have ever faced before in our lives.
Okay.
We have the greatest superhero in DC. We have the most sought-after family in Marvel. We've had lots of films before. We now have to make a decision who wins in this titanic battle between two superheroes. Murph, I have never broached this subject to you. I have known you now.
There's a reason, because I don't have a clue about it.
25 years. See, now there it is. That's my fear. How can you not, as a grown man, how can you not know the importance of what we sit on now? We're trying to decide if it's a Superman society or a Fantastic Four society. How can you do that?
Because Ed, I was just buried in baseball cards and hockey cards and watching sports and playing in the backyard. I never got into the comic books. I don't know why. It's strange, because I think if I did give it a chance, I would be interested. So maybe I'll do that this summer. Maybe I'll try and look into this whole topic. But
but you see, It's
I can't tell you
impossible. Look,
anything
you
about
can
that
do
right
Superman because Superman is sort of universal.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Everybody knows who Superman is.
And I did see the trailer for that new Superman movie. It looks awesome.
Okay,
It
the
looks
new
really
movie.
cool.
First of all, they got me because there's a dog. I'm the guy. I'm the dog. You got a dog in it. You got me sold. I'm going to have to watch it.
Exactly.
Matter of fact, I got it, and I'll make this revelation. Walmart, free plug Walmart, in case you're looking to sponsor us, we're ready. I should have just said a store with blue and white. No. Walmart has Superman stuff now, and they have, I should have taken a picture of it. They have a Crypto the dog that has 2 helicopter blades mounted in his back so that he can fly.
Oh, wow.
And it's like a plastic toy. It's $35. I mean, for this little thing. And his arms and legs can go out like he's flying. I'm like geeking out here. If you go to my Facebook page, you go to Ed Berliner, you'll see a post right there that says, "Take my money right now. Damn it! I'm there. I'm like, I'm ready today. Right after the show, I got to go out and run some errands, and I'm thinking about making a run to Walmart just to pick one up. Yeah. And I'm the guy who's got so much crap sitting behind me here that comes from a career. I'm trying to get rid of some of this stuff. And I'm talking about adding more. So
don't get rid of that Emmy.
I'm sorry.
Don't get rid of that Emmy. God bless you.
No, the Emmy stays forever. I mean, there's baseball, there's football, there's so much crap going on here. I got so much, and I'm thinking about adding a crypto plastic dog to it. So, but from your perspective, Superman is easy to understand.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I just don't get the whole new Marvel and all this and all the stuff that goes into that. There's just so many storylines that I'm way behind on, so I can't comment.
That's just it. If you walk into a theater and watch Fantastic Four First Steps, if you're a comic geek, you'll like it, but you won't understand the nuance,
right?
The history, the fact that we Marvel fans have been flagellating ourselves for so many years because there was an original movie that came out in the 60s that was freaking terrible. 2 movies that came out that were actually pretty good. And then one maybe about 10 years ago that sucked. It was awful. Yeah. This is the first family of Marvel. We have been waiting for a decent film to come out so we can enjoy it. And now, finally, we hope we have one.
Yep.
Although I still can't see Pedro Pascal as Mr. Fantastic. But see, again, a nuance that you'll never get.
Superman again, Ed?
Who's
Superman now? Who's Superman now? What's his name?
His last name is Corin Sweat.
Okay.
He's a complete unknown actor that they cast, and for the life of me, I cannot think of his first name.
Unknown anymore, right?
I'm sorry?
He's not going to be unknown anymore.
Not going to be unknown anymore because he's either going to be the new face of Superman, or the movie's going to bomb so badly that
David Corn Sweat.
David Corn Sweat. Okay, but they not only have. It's not only Superman. It's Superman, Green Lantern, Hawkwoman, Metamorpho. There's all these DC characters that are going to show up in it. The Green Lantern is Guy Gardner Green Lantern, who is played by Nathan Fillion, who has played in The Rookie, who has been in Firefly. See, this is it. I'm geeking out. I got to stop. This could go on forever. This show could become a 5-hour show all of a sudden where we're wandering into stuff that you don't know anything about.
Exactly, but I'm going to, before we close, I'll draw a sports connection to this David Corn Sweat.
Please, save me, Murph. I've gone off the rails.
Born in Philly in 1993. What happened in Philly in 1993?
Another riot after a team won a sporting event?
Mitch Williams blew the World Series. Joe Carter, home run. I hope the movie doesn't go that way.
See,
that's not Mitch Williams.
That's my point. We got
the sports connection.
The minute you mention Philadelphia, the first thing I think about is a riot in the streets after a sports championship.
Yep.
It just seems to be that's where they go in Philly.
By the way, they don't send National Guards in for that, though. Oh, anyways. I'm going to have to talk about this down the road. I got a couple of friends, guys coming in the show down the road.
I am going to see both Superman and Fantastic Four.
Well, you enjoy it, my friend. Let me know. Maybe I'll go check it out.
And until they make a Slapshot 2, yeah, I got to wait for that one too. But at least they're making Spaceballs 2 finally after 100 years. And Mel Brooks is going to be 101 when he does that. Tell us again about the eye test. Where's the eye test? Where can people catch it?
The eye test on YouTube Live, 4 to 5. You can check us out.
Eastern time, 4 to 5 Eastern.
Twitter right there. By the way, you can. I'm going to have you replace Boston Hockey Now because I'm no longer with them there. I see that in the underneath my name.
Well, that's what you've got listed.
I know. I'll have to change that. But you can find the eye test on X is at. What is it? At SickPod, SickPod NHL. That's the
SickPod NHL. Now that's where?
That's on X.
It's on
X.
X.
And then what are we on Instagram? I don't even know it. This is really embarrassing. I gotta get on more on Instagram a lot, huh? That's
do you not know these things? What I mean, you come on, old man. Get it together. Get your shit together, old man. Come on, it's a social media world.
The Eye Test Podcast on Insta. That's the Insta.
So on Instagram, it's Eye Test Podcast?
Yes.
Could you come up with a longer name? I mean, could you possibly come up with anything longer for crying out loud? I mean, geez, and make it worse. You can also get him on Facebook and X at Murphy's Law 74. So there you go. Those I know were good. Well, will you please go back then and change your social media? Because I researched your social media, and those both came up with your name. So it's your fault, young man. Your fault. I take no responsibility.
Good to see you.
All right. That's James Murphy. Jimmy, well, see, there's nothing. Jimmy Murphy, I know you as James Murphy.
Yeah, Jimmy.
So, but I think you took the Jimmy because you want to be part of the Dropkick Murphys one day, but that's another story altogether. Don't forget, you can catch us on YouTube, Fastest Show in Sports. You've got all the social media where you can catch us. TikTok, we're there as well. You can catch the bits. Go to YouTube. Also, don't forget, audio podcast. We're on all the major podcast platforms. Just search out Fastest Show in Sports. You'll find us. You can listen to the entire show and segments as well. For Jimmy Murphy, for our buddy Mike Wise, who's off on assignment somewhere. Where the hell is he? We don't know, because he's just in the vapor somewhere. I'm Ed Berliner. Thanks for joining us, everybody, right here on the Fastest Show in Sports. Till next time, rock on, true believers. See ya!
That's all, folks.